right, so now we're at the bleaching stage of the process to whiten the skull. And so we got everything power washed off of this, and I wrapped the bases just in regular saran wrap. And what I did is I over wrapped it a little bit, and then I came in with a knife so that way I could just cut a perfect line right around those pedicles. So that's all ready to go. And I got just a plastic tub here, and what we're using is we're using the 40V cream peroxide. You can just order that online, and basic white. And so this comes in a powder, and so all I did is I put the powder in the bowl and I mixed it up with hot water and made a nice liquid out of it. I didn't want it creamy or like a paste, and so I made it more almost like a thick liquid, maybe like milk or something like that. And then I put the peroxide, the 40V peroxide cream in there as well, stirred that up and made it kind of like a cream type consistency. And so what I've seen people do mostly online is they make a paste out of it and then they paint it on, which when you're painting it on, it seems like it's, which I've never done this before, but it seems like it would be a pain just to get it in all those little cracks and all the little holes. And so I figured that I'd do more of a bath with it than paint on a cream. So again, I've never done this before, maybe I'm screwing something up, but it just made more sense to soak it rather than to paint it on. So hopefully I made enough liquid. If not, I'll just go and make a little bit more liquid. But I'm gonna remove the skull first, pour some of this in there, try not to splash it. I got my gloves on because this is pretty strong stuff. So just gonna fill up the tub. Oh yeah, I'm gonna need to make more for sure. Alright, so that covered the skull about halfway. I'm gonna go make another mixture of this and be right back. Alright, so mixed up a second batch of the liquid here, and it's using up a lot of these products, but I plan to reuse this whole mixture. I'm hoping to do all 3 of the skulls with it, and then maybe even save it for future skulls as well. And so I just mixed up some more of it. We'll keep pouring, try and get this thing filled up. And you can see it's pretty liquidy, kind of just like a cream. So I don't want to go up too high because I'm starting to get those bases in there. Prop that antler up a little bit and add some more. So I'm going to pour it over the top. Just so the top of it gets covered. Alright, I'm going to drop this in the sink. I don't want to get... Alright, so I'm just going to kind of shake it and wiggle it around, try to get it into every crack and crevice. I'm trying to get it to stay like this as well. So if it can stay like this, then the bases are pretty much out of the liquid. They are wrapped up pretty good in the plastic wrap, but I don't want any of that soaking into there. And then I'm hoping that the top of the skull right here will end up getting bleached just from me pouring the liquid over it, but they keep sinking back down. So I'm gonna get maybe some tape them up so it doesn't keep sliding back down into the container. Maybe I can rotate it or something. But I think for this first one, I haven't done this before, so I think for this first one I'm going to let it sit for about 6 hours and see how it turns out. It might need to be something that sits overnight, maybe 10 or 12 hours. I'm not sure yet with this concoction that I mixed up. But this is pretty much how we're going to leave it for the next 6 hours. And then we'll show you guys the results. Show you how this one turns out, and if it's not quite white enough, then I might put it back in and soak it for longer. And then this one will be my test subject, so that way I know the amount of time that I need to soak them for. And then the other two, I should be able to just do them for that amount of time. Alright guys, so the skull has been soaking for 8, almost 9 hours now. So we're going to rinse it off, see how it looks. It still looks a little yellow, which I'm not looking for perfectly bleach white. I don't know if I'll accomplish that. Maybe if I let it soak for a long time, but I also don't want it to cause any damage. I'm not sure if it'll start disintegrating or anything like that. As you can see, I just put a little bit of duct tape on there just to keep the antlers in place from sliding down and in. The concoction that I mixed up did start to kind of like foam up and almost like swell up a little bit. And so just be aware of that. I had enough room in the tub, but don't overfill it. Looks good, but it's also covered in white goo still. So
yeah, hard to tell.
rinse her off and see how she does. A little bit of hot water, rinse this off, might help. I'm gonna turn it down just a little bit so it doesn't splash bleach everywhere. And it whitened it up pretty nice. So it does look like it might have discolored and bleached out the bottom of the antlers at the base of the pedicles right there a little bit. So I might try wrapping that up just a little bit better next time. And either this is a line from where the mix was and it didn't come up much higher than that, which it was hard to not get it on the base of the antlers. Shut the water off. It was hard to not get it on the base of the antlers while also covering the entire skull. And so either that coloration is from where the bleach line kind of stopped at, and I tried to scrape it up onto there a few times throughout the time that it was soaking, or it's just like that because that's a super thick part of the skull, kind of where the brain is, and this thing sat for several months, and that's just the coloration of it now. I don't know, but it does look really good. I'm pretty dang happy with that. And so this was about 8 to 9 hours of soaking, and it doesn't look too dried out, and it still has a little smell to it, but I think after it dries it's gonna be just fine. So I'm super happy with it for doing it for my first time ever doing a Euro mail. So this is just the first one out of the 3 skulls, and so we're going to do the same exact process to the other 2, and then we'll show you guys the entire end product of what we come up with. And then I'm going to use the same mix for all 3 of them. I think it'll work for all 3 of them, no problem. But yeah, it looks awesome. Alright guys, so we have all the skulls here cleaned up, bleached, and completed. And so the whole process overall, you know, we did it over a couple of days, but maybe put in just an hour's worth of work, maybe a little more than an hour of work total for all 3 of these. But some of the processes take several hours for them to sit, whether it's sitting and cooking or sitting in the peroxide solution. And so you can kind of take a look at them here. They turned out nice and white, nice and clean. That peroxide solution that we dipped them into got into all the cracks and crevices. And then this one here lost a tooth, but we had the tooth and just glued it back in. So if one of your teeth falls out, don't worry. You can just glue it back in, no big deal. And then with this one here, with Brighton's, with it being a smaller skull, the bone's a little bit thinner. We cooked it too long because we cooked it the same amount of time as we did the other two, and this one should have gone just a little bit less. So it turned out a little bit chalky, but it doesn't look bad really. And then as you guys saw, the whole front of the face kind of came off here. All the bones in the front here and here came off. And so all you got to do is just save those, put them in their own little cup with the peroxide solution, and then you can kind of work them back into place, and just a little dab of super glue and they're good to go. But this is how we did our skulls, and this was the result of them. So it turned out pretty dang good. We're pretty happy with the results for our first time doing it.